Brian Tripp joins us, freshly back from Chicago on his way to Pittsburgh now. Welcome.
Yeah, it was a bit of a long travel day yesterday, but on the way to Pittsburgh, Phillies Pirates this weekend, hoping they don't add to that loss total. But thanks for bringing it up.
No, I mean, facts are facts. All right, so well, good. Have a good time at the games. That's great. So, what did you take out of Big Ten Media Day? Not just in your conversations, but in your listening.
Yeah, I thought the number one thing that the Penn State players not only represented themselves in Penn State really well, but I thought they handled some challenging questions well. But they're really optimistic about the season. They have a great energy for a good reason, I think, going into the year, just because of the depth and the work. Those are the players. The players have been around everyone else on the team and in the locker room, not really the coaches, even though they've changed the hour rule a little bit and what's allowed and what's not during the offseason, obviously, as you know, Steve. But I think the reviews of their teammates, the way they feel about the roster and the depth, that's kind of what I gleaned from a football standpoint, their confidence and their excitement going into the year. That was probably the number one thing.
I think the approach Jack Ham and I have taken with this one, because we get asked. I mean, I'm in the store today, for goodness sakes. I get asked everywhere about this. We both feel like, you know what, we like what we see. There's a lot we know, and we're going to be very quiet about it and let it play.
Yep.
Just let it play.
No, I think that's a really good way to handle it. I think they're handling it in that way. Look, with the team that Ohio State has back on offense, what Michigan did last year, I think there's a ton of excitement there. But the way Penn State started, as we all know, compared to the way they finished the season last year, they weren't the same team. They were going through a lot of things because of what happened at the quarterback position. And I feel like James Franklin talked about it. I think the athletes there talked about it, that they've addressed the areas that they felt like they needed to. The incoming recruiting class they feel really, really good about. So they think if they can take a next step to the team that they were prior to halftime at Iowa, that's a team that can compete. But they're not going to go out and make guarantees and make statements. If everyone wants to talk about Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State, that's fine. They'll let the business take care of it themselves. I think they're loose. I think they're having fun. And I thought they were showcasing their personalities and their confidence there. But it wasn't like they're going out and making guarantees. I think it's internally they know what they have. They don't have to proclaim it externally for everyone to know. They're going to let their play on the field and camp and all that stuff do the talking.
How did you feel, Sean? You knew Sean Clifford was going to be asked about, the conversations he's had outside of football about unionization and so forth. It sounded like he was just like, I just want to play. Let's go.
Yeah, I think that was the message that not only he, but Coach Franklin and all the other, look, you're in a tough spot there. P.J. Mustipher and J.R. Brown were asked about those questions too. Sean's a great ambassador for not just Penn State, but all current student athletes, in that he is using his platform with name, image, likeness, with giving athletes a voice for good reasons. And he talked about how happy he was to have, whether it's Commissioner Warren or Dr. Kraft or whoever, Coach Franklin, to have them be willing to listen and have those conversations. And that's what he was happy about. He's not trying to be a Renaissance man. He just wants to be someone who is educated, involved. He's so passionate about the student-athlete experience and the experience of being a college football player at Penn State. And I think that's what he wanted to express. And then as the season approaches, it's time to get down to business. And they're going to worry more about what's going on the football field. But he's done the things, and he deserves the opportunity because of what the rules and regulations have changed. Mm-hmm. He deserves the opportunity to take advantage of what's there in front of him and what he's able to do. And I think everyone acknowledged that in the same vein as well.
Also, the fact that P.J. must have passed his conditioning test. I mean, you and I both talked to P.J.
Did you hear?
So,
did you know?
You and I had both talked to PJ, and I talked to him several times during the course of the spring. in early on. So I knew pretty much what his timetable was because he told me. So I wasn't obviously surprised by it, but I think it has to be a big plus for everybody that he at least told everybody he's on track.
Yeah, the one thing he did say was that he wants to be full go. He feels like he's full go. But as a guy coming back from an injury like that, just to get back onto the football field, there's going to be some cobwebs there. There's going to be some acclimatization time to get up to speed as a football player. So he's healthy. He feels great. Can't wait to get out there. And he's ready to go. I think his leadership's huge to that defense. And as we saw last year, Steve, when he wasn't out there, you want him healthy and have an opportunity last year if he had a healthy season, go on to the next level. But what his leadership means coming back, but also the opportunities that a Devon Ellie's got playing last year, I think that makes the depth so much better at that spot. Hakeem Beamon coming back at that spot. The depth at that position is going to be really, really strong as well. So in some ways, it was a blessing in disguise for the 2022 Penn State football team that those opportunities presented themselves to other players. But he feels great, and I think he's the anchor of that defensive line, which I don't know how much you and I haven't talked a ton about it. I'm really high on that group.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be one of the stronger points of the football team. But when you talk about Ellies, Izzard, Beamon, Vanderberg, maybe even Durant, because we were all impressed by him, PJ doesn't have to play 60 or 70 plays in a game, Brian.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And then when you're trying to manage it out over a long season, and you start the first 3 weeks, you're going on the road. So it's not like you can ease into it. And those are two of your, they're playing 1-0 every week, 1-0 mentality. But those are two of your more marquee opponents right off the bat. So that's asking a lot of a guy coming off an injury to play every single play in a game to start the season. So I think he'll have that ability because of the depth where he can feel where he's at. I think he's probably ready in 100%, but we'll see. That's what you never know until you get on the football field.
Just let him play. All right, and then at that point, you can figure out how many plays in the game you need, especially on any given week. Dr. Kraft was there as well, and he was able to get out there and talk with everybody. He obviously he projects really well. I think that's a fair statement. He projects really well.
Yeah, I think no matter what he said. Number one, the first thing you tell is he's passionate about what he does and about who he is working with, coaches, athletes, administration, support staff on a day-to-day basis. And that his energy and his passion is so infectious when he has these conversations. And he's been really transparent. And talking to some of the media members there, they've enjoyed that. They've enjoyed his honesty. They've enjoyed how forthright he's been when talking about all of the issues surrounding not just Penn State athletics, but everything going on in the college sports landscape right now. And I know you've always said this, Bill O'Brien was the right coach for Penn State at the right time. James Franklin's the right coach for Penn State at the right time.
Right.
I feel the same way about the administration. Sandy Barber is the right administrator, athletic director at the right time. And now that her career got into the back end and she decided to retire, I think Pat Kraft's the right administrator at the right time with the changing landscape of college football and the alignment that he has with the head football coach right now.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's well said, and that's exactly how I feel about it. Penn State's been very fortunate over the years. In the 40-some-odd years I've been here, I've always felt they've had the right person at the right time, whether it was at athletic director, head football coach, whatever. I've always felt they had the right person at the right time. Obviously, expansion dominated a lot of talk while there, as well as media rights. In talking with other people, as you went around the room and everybody has their conversations, what were some of those conversations that were had and some of the opinions that you heard about expansion?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't expecting to see a reporter from the LA Times there at the football media days, but there they were asking about what kind of excitement would you have for going out to the West Coast and what could be the draw of the West Coast program for players from the Northeast or from the Midwest. Wasn't expecting that. But I think a lot of the conversation, number one, is what does, just on a football sense, what does USC and UCLA have? What's the next step? Is there a next step to this puzzle? But then the other question that I heard asked a couple of times is, how does this impact and how do you manage it? And I don't know that there's a concrete answer to this yet. How do you manage it for your other sports, for your basketballs, where you're traveling there midweek, or a baseball program, softball, whatever it may be? How does it manage and how does it fit for these other sports? So I think that now everyone's accepted. It happened. It's going to happen. UCLA and USC are joining the Big Ten. Everyone understands the financial aspects to it. There's an anticipation and I think an excitement around what this new television contract is going to be, what the media rights deals are, and how much money. But now you start to dig a little bit deeper. Step one's done. Now you start to dig a little bit deeper into it, and you figure those other puzzle pieces out, how it's going to affect more than football for the Big Ten.
It has become obvious in reading between the lines with Kevin Warren, but very obvious in the conversations Mark Silverman has had, since he is critical to all this, that there'll be some streaming component somewhere in here. So, Brian, obviously younger than I am, so how much do you stream, and what do you think of that as a component?
Yeah, I don't have any cable, so
okay.
Everything's basically streaming for me. I like the pay-per-view component of a game, but I still think there's a majority of your audience, and whether it's watching at home for an older audience or even going to a sports bar or whatever, cable, the Big Ten, in my opinion, still needs placement on an ESPN because, look, the thing that I always come back to, Steve, is the NHL. When the NHL went off of ESPN, and ESPN right now has exclusive rights to the college football playoff, and you know how much power these television networks have when influencing the college sports landscape right now. Mm-hmm. I think the Big Ten, yes, you want to position yourself for maybe a Friday night football game on Amazon or Apple TV, whoever would win that. But I would not take my marquee events away, and I would want to distribute those rights to as many places as I still could that are household, because for multiple reasons. Number one, your audience, older audience. But number two, I think it's really important they stay on the traditional networks, while those networks are the ones that carry the rights to the college football playoff or can influence the narrative around a college football season.
Well, let me put it this way. I have never streamed anything before, but when Thursday Night Football starts on Amazon Prime, I will.
Yep.
I will. I have no problem doing that. That doesn't bother me in the least, but I'll do that. I mean, that's not an issue.
I think so. This is where I would go on that. So with the MLB games on Apple TV or Peacock this year, if it's a game you really want to watch, you're going to find it and pay for it. If it's on Prime, wherever it may be, you're going to find it and pay for it. Penn State fans are going to find a Penn State game. It's those ancillary fans who are just maybe tuning in to watch a game. I don't think a majority, I could be completely wrong here, I don't think the majority of the population is trained, for lack of a better word yet, to, let me go to Amazon and see which game is on right now. It's a lot easier just to click through the dial and click on ESPN. So I think that's where it would be impacted the most. People who want to watch it will find it wherever. It's that casual fan and the casual audience that I think the streaming could impact the most.
I was kidding with Jack. I said, I don't think it'll hurt you, Brian, and me. I think radio, there'll be some people go, they're streaming, I'll listen to the radio. Hey, enjoy the Phillies and the Pirates this weekend.
Thanks. The Phillies get swept by the Cubs, 2-3 from the Braves, and held on despite Jerry's familia last night. So.
Hey, and really, and enjoy seeing the Pirates roster as it is for the final time. All right. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, have a good one.